tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Hold on to your panty. The party is about to begin.
I can hardly wait.
I love this show. Check 1, check 2, check 3.
Are we ready?
Check 4.
You know what? Enough talk. It's showtime. It's the Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
Call me now, 937-457-1290.
Locally grown, seriously funny on WHIM.
This is America, okay? We live in America, the greatest country in the world. And I keep convincing myself or telling myself, hang in there, Pete, you'll get a second chance. This is the one country that gives you a second chance. And I've been suspended for almost 30 years, and I've been close to a second chance. So I continue to hope that someday I'll get a second chance.
It is the Evening Edge, Monday through Friday, 5 to 7, live stream up on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And we had that breaking news here just in the last hour or so that Pete Rose, the late, great Pete Rose, who died on September 30th of last year at the age of 83, after spending 30 years plus in exile, Major League Baseball, repeatedly trying to get himself reinstated so he could be considered for the Hall of Fame, but more importantly, be more involved with baseball and not requiring permission to enter a ballpark or to talk about Major League Baseball in almost any way. He had to get permission to do that. Finally today, reinstated after the commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred, decided that once a ball player has died, if he was on the ineligible list, they can be removed. So it's not just Pete. It's also Shoeless Joe Jackson and most of the members of the 1919 Chicago White Sox, affectionately known as the Black Sox, who threw the World Series, which gave the Reds a win, by the way, in the World Series. But, I think a lot of people have mixed feelings about this because on the one hand, if you're from this area, you grew up here like I did, Pete Rose was one of your baseball heroes, 100%. And without a question, what he did on the field deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, right? And, I've waffled over the years, to be honest with you. For a long time, I was sort of like, yeah, but, he bet on baseball. He bet on baseball. And then I had the opportunity to meet him a number of years ago and have dinner with him and have drinks with him. And my feelings changed on him 100%. That, yes, he did those things, but he did those things, as far as we know, as far as anybody ever knew, he did it after he was done playing. He did it as a manager. Now, I don't know if he was doing it when he was a player manager. He did that for a couple of seasons with the Reds until he broke the Ty Cobb record. But I changed my mind. I softened my feelings towards him being in the Hall of Fame, and I kind of felt like, well, give people the shot. Give the veterans or the baseball writers the opportunity to vote him in or not. But that never happened. And then, of course, after he passed away last September, and I remember we talked about it, that what are the chances that after he's gone, somehow baseball will see their way to reinstating him? So where he doesn't get to benefit at all from being in the Hall. And here we are, May 13th, and that's what has happened. That Pete is reinstated. Now, this isn't a guarantee that he's going to go into the Hall of Fame. And I'm not 100% sure how they're going to put this all together. I've heard lots of conversations about how will he end up on a ballot. Because on the one hand, he was never put on the ballot when his playing days were over. And usually I think it's maybe 5 years or 6 years, 7 years, something like that after a player retires that they can go on to the ballot, and then they're on there for a period of time. I think until they don't get the votes and they drop off. But there might actually be a time limit. I don't know right offhand. And then there's also the Veterans Committee. And the Veterans Committee are made up of Hall of Famers who vote on players or people in baseball from the past that their eligibility as far as being on the players ballot is gone. But, maybe back in the Negro Leagues, they were Hall of Fame caliber, and the Veterans Committee and the Negro Leagues Committee, they decide, these players or this umpire even, they've elected umpires from the past. And personalities in baseball, whatever it might be, the Veterans Committee may determine that. So, not sure how it's all going to pan out for Pete, but I'd be curious to get your take on this, because on one hand, I really do feel like this is a slap in the face. Because what changed from the time that he was alive to now, other than the fact that he passed? I mean, what has changed in baseball that gave the commissioner this notion that, well, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and change this long-held policy that baseball had, that anybody who was on the ineligible list, after they die, they can be reinstated. What triggered that change between September 30th, when Pete passed away, and today? Why couldn't this decision have been made a year ago or 2 years ago or however long? Why now? Because, eventually I do believe that Pete will get in. How he gets in, who knows? But I do believe he'll get in. But what a slap in the face. I really feel that way. I mean, I'm not saying that that his family should refuse. His family, actually, an article I saw today out of Philadelphia, because they were, Philadelphia media is going nuts with this too, because of course Pete played for the Phillies. That the family is all in support of this, and that along with their attorney, they're going to petition to try to get Pete on the ballot as quickly as possible, which is great. But I still feel like it's just like a slap in the face. And I've got a very good friend who was a much bigger Pete Rose fan than I, and I had him on the show the night that Pete passed away, and he held fast and hard. Parker, sit over in that chair, would you mind? I'm going to put you on camera. He felt very passionate that he was not going to go to the Hall until Pete was reinstated, and got into the Hall. So maybe that'll happen. Maybe my friend Charlie will finally get to go to the Hall of Fame. He was the biggest baseball fan that I've ever known in my life, and maybe he'll get that opportunity. But just mixed feelings today about this. And joining me in the studio, Parker Testa. He's the host of the Orange Zone on Sunday mornings here on WHIO, 11 a.m. And I'm sure that this Sunday you're going to talk about this. Am I right?
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And that, along with a bunch of other things too. It's funny. I was telling Hippie out there a little bit earlier. We're sitting here on Tuesday, and we've had 2 days of like a bunch of sports news. This couldn't have happened on Sunday while we were on.
Right.
That's all. It always goes that way.
But what's your feeling on this? Because you never got to see Pete play.
Nope.
I mean, you're of a certain age where maybe you see him in videos or on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's a slap in the face. Why didn't they make this decision a year ago when he was still alive? What changed between September 30th, when he passed away last year, and today?
I understand that, but here's my take on it. It's better that I heard you talking about the Hall of Fame. I think he'll get in too. But I think it's better that he was reinstated at all, rather than him going on and just being banned forever.
No, I agree, but I guess my point is that what changed in the commissioner's mind from September 30th to now, other than Pete dying, that made him finally say, you know what, we've had this policy forever. I mean, decades and decades. That's what kept shoeless Joe Jackson out of the Hall of Fame. I don't know that any of the other White Sox players from that time who threw the 1919 World Series were of the caliber of player to get into the Hall. Probably not.
Right.
But you know what changed? I mean, it just seems to me that, like, okay, now he's gone. He won't benefit. Now let's reinstate him, because they could have made this decision a year ago when Pete was still alive. And maybe, who knows? Maybe that would have been enough to keep him going. I don't know. I just feel like it's a slap. I hope he gets in 100% and he should be celebrated. But it just seems like, oh, really? Now?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from on that. But, and I hate to say this, but people don't really think about this until after people are gone. And that's with everybody. You don't really think about, oh, hey, go back to, oh gosh, I don't know. I'm blanking right now on another player.
Hold the thought, because we got a break here and we got traffic issues. So hang on, Parker, just stay right there and we'll come back and we'll chat. Okay.
All right.
What am I listening to now? What is this?
The Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
It's a radio show. It's entertainment.
Fill it up.
T-O. Double D.
H. Oh. Double L.
S-T. I can remember that.
Locally grown, seriously funny.
I'm puzzled by the whole thing.
On WHIO.
Now from the WHIO.
All right. You are on camera, by the way, so don't pick your nose. And your mic's up, so don't swear, you foul-mouthed sailor.
But it's like, I get, it's just one of those things where, okay, he's passed away. Maybe now we can do this. I hate to say it, but I think that's just the way he was thinking.
I don't know. I just feel like, Pete's been going to Cooperstown for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
On Hall of Fame weekend and other weekends where he's up there signing autographs at a shop somewhere, in Cooperstown. I saw him. I've been to Cooperstown twice, and one was I think a week before, and the Hall of Fame induction, and he was already there. And I just feel like this is I'm not suggesting that it was intentional, but I just don't understand what has changed since September 30th that changed Rob Manfred's mind to reinstate players that have been banned for life on baseball.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this topic has really been blown up since Pete died. Not just the fact that he's been banned and
right.
the Hall of Fame, but with every player. So I think maybe the fact that a lot of people are talking about it and have been talking about it since he died.
Well, that could be, but I mean, I know that Pete had conversations, and representatives from Pete have had conversations when he was still alive with Major League Baseball and the commissioner's office about this.
Yeah.
So it's not something that just, it wasn't discussed until Pete passed away.
Right.
I mean, this has been going on.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly what he says is that obviously this is his statement. A person no longer with us cannot represent a threat to the integrity of the game. So I guess what that means is that he still thought that Pete was a threat to the game.
Yeah. And well, when they struck down those bans. They did say lifetime bans.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this was a rule or not to begin with, Todd. Like, I think that maybe it was never even thought about.
Well, I
The
think
lifetime ban thing, and then there was no official, like, after they die, can they be reinstated for the Hall of Fame?
Well, I think the way that and I've read a couple of stories about this, the way it strikes me is that I think it's possible that Pete's passing is what triggered the reevaluation of this.
Yeah.
But I just think it's a shame that that's what it took.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
I agree.
because I just feel like this decision could have been made a year ago or longer.
Yeah.
You know, but again, looking at this decision, if Pete hadn't passed away, I don't think he'd be reinstated.
No, I agree. And I think because it nobody thought about it beforehand, because Shoeless Joe and the 1919 White Sox, nobody saw them. So nobody had really an argument to where, hey, all these things line up. They're dead now. Why can't they be considered for Hall of Fame?
Right. I mean, nobody.
It was so long ago that I think it was just forgotten about.
Well, yeah, but this policy's been around for a long time.
It has,
I mean, this is when, you know, that policy began with Kennesaw Mountain Landis when he banned Shoeless Joe and the other 1919 White Sox players from baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a lifetime ban, and the way Major League Baseball, or the Hall of Fame rather, their ruling or their policy was, if a player's been banned from life, they can't be considered for the Hall. And the Hall sort of took their cue from the Major League Baseball lifetime ban list. So now that these players are no longer banned for life, they've been reinstated,
well,
then they can be reconsidered. Because that's the way it's always been viewed, is that if
I just think that nobody thought about it because, one, Pete has been alive all this time since he was banned, and then now that he's passed away, nobody considered it because anybody who saw the White Sox of 1919 thought, well, never could happen.
Yeah.
And then now that I think people are more and more talking about this, because I'm kind of blanking, but the two most notable that have been banned from baseball are the White Sox of 1919 and Pete Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of other people, if they get banned, probably deserve it.
Well, there've been a lot of players. I mean, I don't know the number and I can't name them offhand, but I just know through the history of baseball and you know, the research and knowledge that I know, because I used to be much more deep into it than I am now. There have been players that have been banned and then been reinstated.
Yeah.
You know, after whatever period of time.
Right.
So, well, I'll tell you what, can you hang for a bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to take a quick call, and then I'm going to, if you can hang after the news,
Okay.
then we'll come back and talk and take some more calls.
the Reds tonight without cable or a streaming service. We'll have that for you at 5:30 now. Back to the Evening Edge with Todd Hollst on 1290 at 95.7 WHIO.
This is a job for Weenie Man.
The Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
Call Todd now, 937-457-1290, or message him at Evening Edge Todd.
Locally grown, seriously funny on WHIO.
Back here on the Evening Edge, Monday through Friday, 5 to 7. Coming up after the news, Parker Testa is going to hang out for a little bit. We're going to chat more about Pete Rose being reinstated posthumously to Major League Baseball, which would open the door for him possibly to get into the Hall of Fame. But we got some calls, and I want to take one real quick. Paul in Beaver Creek. Hey, Paul.
Hi, Todd. How you doing?
I'm doing well. What's up, man? What's on your mind?
I was just. I'm not a big sports fan, but I like to play sports, and I just think that, if they were going to reinstate Pete Rose, they should have done it before he died. I mean, he did something he wasn't supposed to, and he should have been able to receive the forgiveness and pardon or whatever,
right,
and say, hey, let's press on, let's put you into the mix and see if you get voted in and so forth. Doing it now, to me, is meaningless. They should have done it before he passed. That's just my thought on it.
I got you, Paul. I appreciate your call. That line's open, 937-457-1290. If you want to get in on this, give us a call. We're going to be talking about this for a bit, but also coming up after 6:30 tonight on the show, none other than Cheryl McHenry. She's going to be retiring soon, and she's going to be on the show. She's throwing caution to the wind. She's a short timer, so she said, yeah, I'll be on your show. Let's see what happens.
What am I listening to now? What is this?
The Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
It's a radio show. It's entertainment.
Coming up,
T-O-double-D.
H-O-double-L.
S-T. I can remember that.
Locally grown, seriously funny
I'm puzzled by the whole thing.
on WHIO.
All right. Your mic's back up. But we can just hang out. We don't need to chat about it. We can come back and chat about it. I always hate doing that. I always like all the good stuff, happens off the air.
Yeah.
It's like when I'm talking to the folks on the live stream, I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. I want to bring it up on the air.
That's why I would always tell Carlos, I'd be like, no, we got to save it.
We got to save it. Yeah. Don't bring it up. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it.
Yep.
Let it just happen naturally, organically.
Right.
Hey, since you're sitting over here, can you reach your little camera and tilt it up a bit? Just, yeah. Yeah, right there. That's perfect.
Good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was kind of chopping off your head a bit.
It's all right.
That's, I'll tell you, I will say this. This is the one thing I love about doing my show and being a news station, because I came in tonight and I had 2 hours of a show planned, really an hour and a half, because I know the last half hour is just going to be me and Cheryl talking. But I had, all this stuff ready to go, right?
Yeah.
And then I get the breaking news about Pete, and I'm like, well, there's tomorrow's show. I don't have to do anything for tomorrow. I've got tonight's show will be tomorrow, and I'm going to talk about Pete tonight.
Yeah,
so.
It's like, well, it's funny because like when I left here on Friday, I had a whole rundown of things I wanted to talk about on Sunday. And then by the time I came in on Sunday morning to do the show, I'm like, well, half of this stuff is out because
Yeah, you can only prepare so much. I mean, I remember when I was doing my when I started doing the show, and I was doing Sunday nights.
Yeah.
I would work on my show throughout the whole week. It was still only 2 hours, and I did a lot of the same features that I do now. Just, different things would be on for a bit, and then they'd go away or whatever. But I'd spend the whole week, each day I'd like find another story. And then I'd be ready to go. And then I'd show up and there'd be like, oh, this happened on Saturday, or, oh, this happened on Friday night, or, oh, this happened this morning, and you just have to juggle it all and change it.
Right.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But I just love that sort of it gives you just that real sense of
You're under pressure.
live and authenticity, and you're reacting to stuff as it happens, you know?
Right.
It's like, I don't like having bad weather
I'd
by
rather
any stretch, but it's like when you have weather like that, you're in here, you're in the moment, you know, and people are responding and commenting and
and I'd rather have too much to talk about than not enough.
Oh, well, that's that I'll tell you what, that is a lesson that I learned very, very quickly.
Right.
And I didn't realize I hadn't done it. Right. So I wasn't sure how much I would need.
Yeah.
And in fact, when I started doing the show, we had, and they're still in here, I had a bank of like, are they? No, I guess we took them out. Yeah. I guess I deleted them after a while, but there used to be a bank of like 2 minutes of alternative rock songs that if I ever found myself like hitting a wall and I had like 3 minutes to fill between where I was and the first commercial or the next commercial break, I'd say, let's listen to some Nirvana, boom, or let's hear some Foo Fighters, boom, you know, or whoever it was. And it would play for, you know, a couple of minutes until I could sort of quickly refocus and be like, okay, I got a story. I can do this.
Right.
So yeah, that was a challenge.
Yeah.
That doesn't really doesn't happen too much anymore. The other thing, I mean, a lot of hosts do this, and I try not to do it unless it's like a really juicy story or relevant, like the Pete Rose thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go for 2 hours tonight and talk about nothing but Pete Rose, and there's a very good chance that I will until we get to Cheryl. But I don't really like repeating stories. You know, it's like if I do a story, I don't want to go back and tread on it again unless it's really relevant.
Well, it's like the Bill Belichick and his girlfriend thing. We were talking about it a couple weeks ago, and then that interview happened, and then last week came out that she got banned, and then the university came out and said, "No, wait, just kidding, she's not banned."
Right.
So we talked about that I did 2 straight
and
weeks.
Then she finished 3rd in the Miss Maine contest.
Oh, who cares about that? I don't care.
That's the big story.
Yeah.
And Bill was in the audience cheering her on.
Sure he was. So excited.
Then I saw a story in response to her being banned from UNC that there was concern that he may not end up coaching there because of that.
I still don't think he's going to make it to week 1.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some sort of scandal or something.
Yeah.
Or
maybe she'll get caught with some co-ed. Lordy.
I don't know.
All right. We're going to come back here. We'll just set up real quick and we'll take some calls. Okay. Because people want to talk. Of course you are, Ron. Of course you're still welcome. Glad you're back. Glad you're here.
Sat out in the sun on Sunday at the Dragons game and
hurt
myself.
Oh, did you?
I mean, it's on my arms. My knees is really bad.
You
can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. My wife got a real bad sunburn on Sunday. We were out doing yard work.
Oh yeah.
And she's got a big Y on the back of her neck from her sports bra that she was wearing outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was fine though. I don't really burn too much. I got some sun, but
is a WHIO payroll payout alert.
Thank you.
$1,000 tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Be of good cheer and call me.
Call me now.
Call me. He's laughing at us right on the radio.
Least we could do is get him on the radio and talk to him.
It's the Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
Call me at 457-1290.
Locally grown, seriously funny on WHIO.
Back here on the Evening Edge, Monday through Friday, 5 to 7. Live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. In the studio right now with me is Parker Testa. We are talking about the breaking news in the last hour and a half or so that Major League Baseball has reinstated Pete Rose posthumously to Major League Baseball after lifting his lifetime ban, along with a number of other former major leaguers who were banned for life. I know Shoeless Joe Jackson. He's Hall of Fame caliber 100%. I don't know about the other players that were on the 1919 White Sox who threw the World Series, which led to a Reds victory. But maybe one or two of them might have been Hall of Fame caliber. I don't know. But I gotta find the list of players that were banned.
I'm working on that.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And so basically what Major League Baseball is saying is that a person no longer with us cannot represent a threat to the integrity of the game. So I guess, we were talking about this. I guess Pete's passing made them really sort of examine this and decide that, well, if they're not a threat, why can't they be considered? Why can't they be reinstated? I still feel like it's a bit of a slap in the face. And I get what Parker was saying, that, now maybe because Pete's passing forced them to think about this. But I still feel like this could have been decided long ago, unless, as long as Pete was alive, it just wasn't going to happen. Because this is what he said. A person no longer with us cannot represent a threat to the integrity of the game, which makes me think that he thought that Pete was still a threat to the game. And that's why the decision wasn't made until now, which I think is sad. It's really sad. But we're taking your calls on this, 937-457-1290. Mike and Enan, what's going on, Mike?
Hey, Todd, 2 points real quick. First of all, no doubt about it, Pete needs to be in the Hall, whether he was dead or alive. Nobody has come close to his number of hits. And then second of all, if you're going to keep him out, you got to keep out Mark McGuire, Socha, and Barry Bonds, who cheated. So what's the difference of cheating or betting? Cheating's worse, and then that's what I think. And they're thinking of putting them in the Hall. They need to be out also, which I don't know what the result was on Bonds, McGuire, or Sosa.
Well, none of those players have been banned from baseball, but none of the sports writers elected them to the Hall.
Good.
So
they should stay out.
Yeah,
because
I got you.
Again, what's the word? Cheating or betting?
I got you. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Let's see, John and Dayton. What's up, John?
Hey, Todd.
Yeah.
Well, since I'm up at night, I listen to a lot of other radio stations.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer to your question is what happened is Donald Trump happened.
Maybe.
Well, no, that's definitely it. Because Jim Jordan and J.D. Vance have his ear. And in a couple interviews I heard with Jim Jordan, he told the hosts that they had talked to President Trump. And in fact, after Jim Jordan had talked to President Trump, about 30 minutes later, President Trump tweeted that Pete Rose needed to be in the Hall of Fame, and the phone calls were made the next day.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it was. I guess we could thank Jim Jordan and J.D. Vance for getting Pete into the Hall, but that's how it happened.
Well, he's not in the Hall yet. He's just been reinstated, and he still has to be elected to the Hall. I'm not saying it won't happen, and I'm not saying it shouldn't. I'm just making the point. He's not in the Hall yet. He's just been reinstated to baseball. I'm sure he'll get in, but we'll see what happens. I appreciate it, John. Let's see. Jeff and Monroe. What's going on, Jeff?
What's going on, Todd? So So fine, we'll put OJ back in the Hall of Fame. What? So once you die, everything's forgiven. We just let it go.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, though. I don't know that the crimes.
He was a great fighter, but he turned on us. Richard Nixon, he knew there was a cover up, but yet, oh well, he's dead. So come on, man.
Yeah,
I understand the music. I don't care, man.
I got you, Jeff. I got you. Jeff is passionate. I don't know that you can compare OJ's situation to gambling on baseball, but I get it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't know how this is going to work out, Parker. Would it be a situation, and I know a lot of people have talked about this, that because Pete was never on the actual ballot, which happens after a player retires, right? They leave the game, and I don't know if it's 5 or 7 years. I forget what. There's a time period where once that player is done with their playing days, they go on to the ballot, and the baseball writers get to vote on who they think should be in,
right?
And whoever gets a certain percentage of the vote gets inducted.
Yeah.
Pete was never on that ballot. And that's the thing that people have been talking about, at least I've been seeing, is that since he was never on that ballot, maybe he should be on that ballot and be considered with players that are more, I want to say more modern, but players that have retired in the last 5 or 10 years.
Well, what I think how that's going to work is I think they're going to have that, this year, 2025. I think they have 3 years. They got to wait 3 years before they can induct.
Is it 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
In 2028, I think is the earliest they could be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But it'd be interesting to see how they do it, because are they going to put these guys on the ballot like everybody else, and they have their 7 years to where they're eligible for the Hall of Fame like every other guy, or could they just, work around that and put him in as a veterans era player? And they don't need the baseball writers to vote him in.
See, and that's an interesting question too, because I wonder who would be more forgiving, if you will, the baseball writers or the veterans. Because I've heard a lot of veterans, one in particular, a teammate of his, Johnny Bench, in the past has sort of come out and said that, hey, Pete broke the rules. Doesn't think he should be in the Hall. Ron, I think he's got a traffic report.
We got some new information on this deal, this car fire situation south of I-675 on 75 northbound. My good friend Will over there in traffic says that they're letting people through on the southbound side, and it appears as if they got a lane open in the northbound side too. But I am hearing one person is hurt when the van and the SUV collided, and that was a wrong way crash from what I understand.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, no. All right. Well, we'll keep you updated on the situation and the traffic. So back to this, the Veterans Committee, there might be some players on there that are pretty, staunchly against him being in the Hall. I don't know where Bench stands now, but I wonder if he would have a better luck with the veterans or the baseball writers. Or maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe both. It would be a shoe-in. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. And I don't. Shame on me. I don't know what or who is comprised on that Veterans Committee or Veterans Era Committee. But if that's just a point where it's a few veterans and the commissioner saying, okay, we'll let them in.
Yeah,
I think you'd have better luck with the Veterans Era Committee than the baseball writers, because there are a lot of baseball writers that still feel very much so that he shouldn't be in.
Well, and a lot of the writers too probably never saw him play.
That, and there's a lot more of them too.
I mean, there's certainly some like Hal McCoy, who himself is in the Hall of Fame as a baseball writer, a longtime Reds writer for the Dayton Daily News. I don't know if he might still be a voting member. I'm not sure.
I think he is. Yeah.
He obviously saw him play.
Yeah.
And understands what he contributed to the game. But there's probably a lot of younger sports writers who may not have that passion and only hear the stories and have formed their opinions based on those stories, and how they think about somebody who gambled. Because And Pete talked about this too, and I've heard a lot of other players mention this in the past, or commentators. He got banned for betting on baseball, and betting on sports at one time was a big no-no. The only people that did it was the mob or in Vegas, and now everybody does it.
Yeah,
and it's completely accepted and different. Yes, it's different for a player who's you're still not allowed to do that. I think there's even investigation right now going on with.
Well, we just had a guy 2-3 years ago banned for life for betting on games.
Right.
He played for the Padres.
So, it's still a big issue, but we'll see what happens. All right. Well, Parker, thank you for stepping in and giving us your thoughts on this. Of course, he's going to be talking about it, I'm sure, this Sunday at 11, the Orange Zone, right here on WHIO Radio. Thank you, Parker.
Thanks, Todd.
It's the Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
Call Todd now, 937-457-1290, or message him at Evening Edge Todd.
Locally grown, seriously funny on WHIO.
All right. Things are slowly but surely getting back to normal for the show. Exactly, Zach. I got you. Normal in the loosest sense of the word. Hey, if you're watching on TikTok, don't forget to follow me. I could use some follows. I appreciate it. J-Man, I appreciate that, and I know what you're saying. I think I'm doing something right and hitting the right button here. Am I not? I don't know. That's what I need my wife for. I don't know if you guys heard Ron's report, but that accident there on 75 apparently is a wrong way accident. Oy.
Live from the McAfee Heating, Air, and Plumbing Studios. Breathe easy. Choose McAfee. Call today or visit mcair.com. This is WHIO Dayton and WHIO FM Pleasant Hill. All news, all the time.
President takes a Middle East tour. We'll have the latest at 6. Now back to the Evening Edge with Todd Hollst on 1290 at 95.7 WHIO.
Get a load of this guy.
The Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
Call Todd now, 937-457-1290, or message him at Evening Edge Todd.
Locally grown, seriously funny on WHIO.
Start the car.
You crashed the car. In local news, a spectacular car crash. House, car.
Back here on the Evening Edge, Monday through Friday, 5 to 7. Well, we have a couple of more cars into buildings to add to our list. So the first one, you might recall yesterday, we had a call from an edgehead, Troy. And he asked the question. He said he had a coworker who, I guess, reported to him on Saturday morning around 5 a.m. somebody hit her house in Huber Heights and then left. They came back, said, hey, we crashed into your house. Just wanted to make sure you knew. It was a little early, didn't want to wake you up. You know, I guess that's probably what it was. And he said, would you count that? And I said, well, if we have pictures, you know, if you can give me some details and provide some photographic proof, we would add it. Well, Troy came through and he sent me several pictures. So it's posted up on my Facebook page. That is number 34 for the year. And then this morning, this was a interesting situation. Happened on East Hillcrest Avenue. Witnesses on the scene said a car was traveling at an accelerated rate of speed, hit a pole. The driver overcorrected, and then the vehicle hit a couple of houses. 1 and 2. Yeah. The car hit porches, railings, and banisters of the 2 houses. 2 people were removed from the car with non-life-threatening injuries and were taken to the local hospital. Hopefully they will recover quickly. But I had a number of people ask me the question today, does that count as 1 or 2? Because it hit 2 houses. According to our guidelines, and again, you know, I've said this before, I'm always open to reconsideration when it comes to our guidelines. But our guidelines, as they state right now, it only counts as 1. It counts as 1 incident. It's not a case of, you know, if the car hits multiple places or whatever, we count each one. No, it only counts as 1 incident. And people also have asked, well, where do we stand this year in comparison to previous years? Well, on this date in 2022, we were at 31. So that's kind of about where we're at. Last year, we had 50, and the year before, 51. So we're actually doing much better this year than we have the last few years. So way to go, Dayton drivers. Keep it up.
What am I listening to now?
What is this?
The Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
It's a radio show. It's entertainment.
Fill it up, folks.
Double D.
H.
Double L. S-T. I can remember that.
Locally grown, seriously funny.
I'm puzzled by the whole thing.
On WHIO.
Let's see. I believe it, Paul. It's a big story. Big story. Okay, here we go. They could use the rinsing.
This is a WHIO payroll payout alert.
Thank you, thank you.
$1,000 tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
All right, it's time.
Can we get the show on the road?
I've been waiting for it all day.
And not a moment too soon.
Listen to talk radio.
This guy, Todd.
Monday through Friday.
5 to 7.
He's weird. Best thing on the radio.
It's the Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
Call me now, 937-457-1290.
Locally grown, seriously funny on WHIO.
This is America. Okay, we live in America, the greatest country in the world. And I keep convincing myself or telling myself, hang in there, Pete, you'll get a second chance. This is the one country that gives you a second chance. And I've been suspended for almost 30 years, and I've been close to a second chance. So I continue to hope that someday I'll get a second chance.
It is the Evening Edge, Monday through Friday, 5 to 7. Live stream up on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And, of course, that was the voice of the late, great Pete Rose. Passed away September 30th of last year. But today, I'm sure you've heard by now, everybody's talking about it. The Hit King has been reinstated by Major League Baseball. And I got a text from a buddy of mine. Said when he heard that, he actually teared up. And I'll tell you what, I bet a lot of people who are longtime Reds fans, Pete Rose fans, probably feel the same. It is a great day, for sure, for Pete fans and Shoeless Joe fans. Shoeless Joe Jackson also reinstated. And basically what it means, and this comes from baseball commissioner Rob Manfred, they have decided, Major League Baseball has decided that if you are on the lifetime ban list, if you've been banned for life, your name will basically come off that list when you pass away, which then opens up the opportunity for those players, if they are of that caliber. Not everybody who's been banned from baseball for life are Hall of Fame caliber, but definitely Pete Rose is. Shoeless Joe Jackson is. A couple of players that were on the 1919 Chicago White Sox. You know the movie 8 Men Out. Maybe you've seen it. a number of those players, they were all banned, lifetime ban, because they threw the 1919 World Series. But there's a couple of players on that team that could be Hall of Fame caliber. George Buck Weaver, Eddie Seacott, a couple of those players were standouts. So maybe they will have their opportunity, because the way it's always worked is the Hall of Fame sort of took their cue from Major League Baseball. And if you were on the ban list for Major League Baseball, you could not be considered for entry into the Hall of Fame. But now these players are no longer on that list. So we'll just have to see what happens. Whether it will be the baseball writers who vote or the Veterans Committee. And from what Parker Testa reported a little while ago, the earliest that they could be considered is 2028. So it'll still be a couple of years for us to talk about and wonder how it's going to come down. And I'm sure we'll get all the information. But as we sit right now, the door is open for Pete Rose to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So if you have any comments on that, 937-457-1290. Also, coming up just after 6:30, Cheryl McHenry, longtime news anchor, reporter, journalist, award-winning journalist. She's going to be on the show. And she's doing it because she is retiring. And I'm sure if you watch Channel 7, you've seen a ton of coverage of this. There's going to be a special. They've been running old clips of her, which I'm sure she absolutely loves. Seeing herself all those many years ago. But she's going to be here, and we're only going to have a short time with her. I was hoping that we would have her for the hour, but I was told that she could only be on for a half an hour because they need her on the air right now, right this minute. She's doing the news with James Brown and Gabrielle Enright, but she will be here just after 6:30. So that'll be exciting. I have a list of questions that I hopefully we will chat about. But I've known Cheryl for a long time. I first came to work at Cox Media Group, WHIO Radio, in 1993. And yeah, Bryn, my producer tonight, what? 1993? That's a whole other century ago. Yeah, that was last century. Bryn, thank you for reminding me. No, but that's when I first met her. And then while I was working there, I became friends with some folks over in TV, and on occasion would go to some social functions, and I got to meet Cheryl. And of course, I'd pass her in the hallway, but she always remembered my name. She was always so friendly. She asked about my son, from time to time. Back then, he was little. So that's nice. And then I left and I came back in 2020 or in 2002. I worked at Channel 7 for a number of years as a producer in the promotions department. And I worked on documentaries and projects with Cheryl, with Jim Baldridge. You might remember Donna Jordan. She worked at Channel 2 for a long time, and then she came to Channel 7. And I worked with her and a lot of the other folks. And then again, most recently I came back here in 2017, and I see Cheryl every day. And it turns out, and I've said this before, and it's true, she is an edgehead, believe it or not. Sometimes I'd see her in the break room and she'd say, I heard you talking about that crazy Florida guy last night, or this story or that story. And she knows my wife, and, asks about Mary and the whole deal. So I'm really excited to have her on. And I guess now, because she's retiring, she can throw caution to the wind and doesn't have to worry too much about what might be said on this show. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm looking forward to it. So we've got a Florida man. We have a trifecta of Florida man. I think we have time to do that here. So
Florida man shines with every single crime, stupefying and delicious. Some might even think fictitious. Florida man is always ambitious.
Yeah, as I sit here in the studio, they just they put up a graphic on Channel 7, 44 years of journalism at WHIO. That's Cheryl. 44 years. That is crazy. So we're going to talk about that. Coming up, or not coming up, but right now, we have 3 Florida man stories, and I think these are all pretty solid Florida man stories. The first one took place in Escambia County. This happened on May 7th. Cops there arrested a 26-year-old who broke into his ex-girlfriend's home, but he did it by going through a doggy door. Now, I saw a picture of this guy. He doesn't seem terribly big, but he also doesn't seem terribly small. And it doesn't say what kind of dog this dog door was put in for. I guess if it was a giant husky or something like that, maybe you could easily squeeze through there. But a lot of the doggy doors that I've seen in houses, you don't see a lot of doggy doors here in Ohio. I guess maybe it's because of the weather. We don't want the cold getting in or whatever. But anyway, he got into this house and then snuck into her bed. She discovered him there. The two tussled, and she elbowed him in the nose. And then he fled. And he left through the dog door. He came in, he came out, the dog door. But he was eventually arrested. And then this second one, this is in Miramar, Florida. Man was arrested on Sunday. He got stopped for a traffic stop. Turns out he had he had some warrants. But after he got out of the car, he ditched it and took off on foot. But he left a 3-year-old in the car. So the guy, and it doesn't say whether this was dad, uncle, neighbor, who knows. But this guy split and left the 3-year-old there in the back to fend. I about sneezed there. About sneezed. I've got coughing music. I don't have sneezing music. But they caught him eventually. And then the third one, Florida man has been arrested for the 18th time in 12 years. Not sure if this is a record, but 44-year-old was recently arrested after he was spotted yelling and screaming near a school bus stop, throwing vapes at cars, and attempting to remove his clothes while threatening to harm families that were nearby. Officers arrived. He tried to put his clothes back on and run, but cops gave chase, finally nabbed him. And now he's facing multiple charges. So 3 pretty solid Florida guys causing mayhem there in the Sunshine State.
What am I listening to now? What is this?
The Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
It's a radio show. It's entertainment. Fill it up, folks.
T-O.
Double D.
H. Oh.
Double L.
S-T. I can remember that.
Locally grown, seriously funny.
I'm puzzled by the whole thing.
On WHIO.
You know, it's so funny. Last night, I about sneezed a few times last night. I can't think of the last time I actually sneezed on the air. All right, I got some paper wads. We don't have the camera up, but you'll have to take my word for it. That one went in. That one went in. That one went in. That's what, 4? 5. 6. 6 for 6. Was it only 5? I don't I never remember. Here, I'll make it 6. I found another one I could throw away. 6. There, went in. Man. Lordy. The Paper Wad Hall of Fame. I'll get banned for something. Using illegal paper wads. Using illegal paper. That's right. Maybe betting on paper wad throwing. That's what would get me banned from the Paper Wad Hall of Fame. I was betting. That could be. Steroids.
Memorial Day weekend. Well, the latest at 6:30 now. Back to the Evening Edge with Todd Hollst on 1290 and 95.7 WHIO.
This guy was smart, sophisticated, professional. I mean, really, really great.
The Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
Call Todd now, 937-457-1290, or message him at Evening Edge Todd.
Locally grown, seriously funny on WHIO.
This is an Evening Edge Cicada Watch update.
Back here on the Evening Edge, Monday through Friday, 5 to 7. You know, it's been a couple of years since we had any cicada news to report, but here we are, the beginning of the summer. And scientists are saying that a new group of cicada that are sex-crazed, their words, not mine, are going to be emerging here very shortly. It's the, let's see, the brood, what is it? The brood 1011C? What is XIC? I don't know. I know my Roman numbers, X, that's 10. 1 is 1. I don't know what C is. But is that 17? Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, these red-eyed insects are going to be emerging from the ground, subterranean levels, and they're going to be coming out hyped up on some sort of zombie fungus. Now, fortunately, it's not supposed to be around here so much, but it's going to be in south central Ohio, northern Kentucky. These particular cicada, they've got this fungus, and it makes them really, really horny. So they come out of the ground, and they make their noise. Whoops, wrong one. Sorry. They make their noise that everybody knows to attract others, and then they spread their fungus among us. So just be prepared. The cicadas are coming. Hopefully it won't be bad around here, but some parts of Ohio, it's going to get crazy.
What am I listening to now? What is this?
The Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
It's a radio show. It's entertainment.
Fill it up, folks.
T-O.
Double D.
H.
Oh.
Double L.
S-T. I can remember that.
Locally grown, seriously funny
I'm puzzled by the whole thing.
on WHIO.
When are you going to be on? That's very nice. So, all right, folks, here she is. There she is. She's on camera.
Hello.
So when is the last day?
Next Wednesday, the 21st.
Next Wednesday. Oh my
Seems like
gosh.
suddenly it's getting here fast.
Yeah.
A few months ago, it seemed far away. And now it's like, oh no.
Oh, well, we'll cover it all.
Okay.
People are saying hi, Cheryl, on the live stream.
Hi, everybody. Hi there. Nice to see you. I can't see you, but hi. I put my little jacket on after the news. It was chilly in the studio, so.
Right.
You have a long day, don't you, Todd? Do you start at 9 a.m.?
All right.
Just you listen to me.
Now listen to me carefully. You boys got something to say to me? Why don't you talk in the microphone?
It's the Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
Call me at 457-1290.
Locally grown, seriously funny on WHIO.
Back here on the Evening Edge, Monday through Friday, 5 to 7. Live stream is up on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And as promised, in the studio, none other than Cheryl McHenry.
Hi, Todd.
Thank you.
It's usually I'm driving home and I hear this open on your show because I've just gotten off the 6 o'clock.
Right,
news, so
right.
It's great to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm very honored to have you.
Thank you.
You know, you are undoubtedly at the top of my list of most respected broadcasters and co-workers that I've ever had the pleasure to work with.
That's very nice.
So
Thank you.
I'm grateful for you being on the show. That being said, though, I wanted to try to come up with some sort of open for you because all of the News Center 7 folks that somehow managed to stumble onto this show.
And I've heard them. They're all very good on your show.
Yeah, they all kind of get their own walk-up music, but I wasn't really able to put together my own version, but I found something that might work.
Okay.
And I just want to play it, and I hope you like it.
I'm sure I will.
Here we go. There we go. All right. Well, there.
Very nice.
I had to give you the full treatment.
All right. Appreciate your efforts,
yeah.
Todd.
So, man, oh man, I mentioned before you came in, they flashed up a graphic on Channel 7, 44 years of journalistic excellence at WHIO. And I have to tell you, I mean, you know this as well as I do. That is unheard of in today's broadcast landscape, that anybody would stay that long at one place. It just doesn't generally happen.
It usually doesn't. I've known somebody's waving at me. Usually it's a man who stays a long time.
Right.
And I think, Don Wayne was here probably 40 plus years, and Ted Ryan and people like that. Jim Baldridge made it 37. So yeah, I mean, I thought about leaving 3 years ago when I had almost 41, I guess.
Right.
And I was going to turn 65 that year. And then one of the big wigs at CMG in Atlanta said, why don't you, consider staying a while longer and maybe cut back your hours a little bit.
Right.
Most people don't realize I did that because I still have been working 5 days a week the last 3 years, but coming in a couple hours later. But not really that much, you know.
No,
And,
I
and
know.
whenever
Yeah.
I've had to do a special report or work on a project, I still come in
Yeah.
the same time. So, but I was grateful because I didn't feel ready then. I didn't feel ready 2 years ago, and I didn't feel ready last year. And I think I'm ready now. But the closer it gets, I got to tell you, it's a very emotional time.
Yeah, I would imagine it next Wednesday is
Yeah,
your last
that's
day.
it.
I can't imagine being someplace for that length of time and then just being faced with that fact of, okay, so that's Wednesday. What are you going to do Thursday? What are you going
Well,
to do Friday?
that's,
What do you know?
got a couple of appointments, but I've got all these people saying we're going to have lunch, we're going to get together for coffee and
Right.
do some reading and just try to relax and enjoy. But it's going to be a transition for me,
Right.
and I'm sure I'll have some difficult moments.
Sure, sure. Now I know you get hit with this question a lot in these last month or so. People asking you about in all those years, what's the big story or what's you've covered a lot of big stories. You've been around the world with News Center 7. You've seen amazing things. You've talked to amazing people. But I think I'm thinking more less so much about the career, more about you personally and what I feel like you've brought to this building. And I mentioned this earlier in the show when I previewed that you were going to be on. I've worked for CMG off and on since 1993.
Right.
And we've had the opportunity to know each other a bit. I feel like, if you don't take this the wrong way, but but
Try
you are like the heart and soul and the homeroom mom of this station, and it's been that way for as long as I've been here. And I just feel like you have been this shining example for everybody to follow. If you want to know how to behave in a professional television newsroom or just in general, you're it.
Well, it's very nice. I don't
And
know
I
that
mean
I always
that-
behaved that way.
No, I mean that sincerely,
thank
because there are very few people, and I've noticed this over the years. If I've passed you in the hallway, now you know me because we've known each other, but other people that might be in this building whose names I don't necessarily know, you know them by name.
I try to know everybody's name.
You know, right. And
Right.
and I've heard you ask about them and ask about their family or asked about their I mean, you've asked about Mary before, my wife, and I just feel like, there's a lot of other great people that I've worked with, but I don't hear that.
Yeah.
I just feel like, you've always just been a very genuine, interested person in other people. There's a curiosity there and a kindness, and I
Thank you.
just love that.
I was a reporter for a number of years before I became an anchor. And that's, I remember getting called on the carpet because I wasn't aggressive enough as a reporter. But my philosophy always was, you get more flies with honey than vinegar.
Yeah.
The way you treat people. Like I used to cover the police in Courts Beat downtown, and we didn't have internet. We didn't have online records. You had
Right.
to sort through paperwork, or you had to actually go visit people that you wanted to ask, okay, what's happening with that court case? You had to go to judges' chambers, prosecutors' offices, the police department. Not everybody wanted to talk to you. They were sometimes very suspicious of reporters, and you had to earn their trust. So one way you do that, I found, is just by treating them like people, like a
Right.
friend, and saying, hi, how are you? Oh,
Yeah.
that's a lovely picture. Is that your wife there? And I think I am genuinely interested in people, because once you get to know them, you realize we're all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our different quirks and personalities,
Sure.
but most people like to talk about themselves or to share things.
Right. Well, and the thing that I think about too, and I think a journalist sort of falls into the same category in one level than like with first responders, where, and you remember Ricky Smith,
Oh, yeah.
who was the assignment editor in the newsroom for a long time, and I got to work with him. And I remember him saying this a number of times, that when we encounter people lots of times, unfortunately, they're having their worst day.
Right.
And when you have to approach someone like that, whether it's a scene of an accident or a house fire where somebody's lost everything, or in the case of a story that I know that you followed very closely and you still have worked on, the Cheryl Coker case, talking to her family and her friends, you have to have a major amount of empathy to communicate with these people and get them to share with you the information that the rest of us want to know.
Yeah.
And you can't do that without having that skill and that talent.
Yeah. And you find when you talk to people like that and you see the worry, the sadness, the anxiety that they're suffering because they have a loved one who's missing and then later is found, the remains are found. You can't help but empathize with them. They're good people. They're suffering this loss in their lives, this abrupt loss. So there is an empathy there. And I think you have to feel that. And I think just being in the news business, you have to, people can tell if you're phony. You have to be authentic. You have to really care. You have to have a passion for what you do. And you do have to have an interest in people. That's what we do. We talk about people, but we care about them too. And I've lived in this area most of my life. Came here as a 9-year-old when my dad was transferred here in the Air Force. But, it becomes home and you care about the area and the people who live here.
Is that why you stayed? Is that why?
I think so. I lost my mom. I was 12 years old and she died of breast cancer. And my dad did remarry about 3 years later. And there were 6 kids in my original family. And then I got 2 stepsisters when my dad got remarried. But yeah, I think just being close to my family and I loved watching WHIO as a teenager, and I watched Don Wayne and Jim Baldridge and Gil Whitney, and I thought, man, these guys are great. And there were a few women working here at the time, and I thought, how do I get into that business? I had no clue. I didn't have any relatives or anybody who worked in media at all.
Right.
And I remember telling my dad, I was about 15 years old, and I said, I think I want to be a reporter. And he kind of looked at me and he goes, do you make any money at it? And I think I said something very profound like, sounds cool.
Right.
But I was always interested in news. My parents were news watchers, and I used to read the newspaper as a kid. And I didn't think as a kid in the 60s that I could ever do this job because they were all men.
Yeah.
You didn't see or hear any women. And then in the early 70s, when I was in high school, I started hearing women's voices on the radio and seeing them on local TV and national TV. And I thought, maybe that's something I could do because I always liked to talk. I liked speech class and I liked news.
And you started in radio.
I did.
Which
and
is
in those
really
days,
the way everybody did.
And I thought that was such great training ground. And I loved radio. I graduated from the University of Cincinnati in 1978, and I had an internship my senior year at WKRC. And they had a big news department because radio stations back then had to have news. It was an FCC requirement. It wasn't until the early 80s that requirement went away. So radio was almost a forced stepping stone to TV. And I enjoyed radio. I liked just being responsible for myself with my little tape recorder and doing interviews. I was in Cincinnati and I met Jerry Springer and, some of those people who were on city council back then. And, but then I was always intrigued by TV because I would see the TV reporters at the same events that I was covering. And I was thinking, well, I think I could do that job.
Yeah.
It was a transition because writing for TV is different than
100%.
Radio, yes, because you have to think about what video. I have to think about the video. Yeah, you can't just come up with words or write for the ear.
Got to write to the video.
You're using the visuals. So
right to the video.
That was a learning curve for me.
Yeah.
The first year was a challenge. But here I am all these years later. Who would have thought in 1981 that I'd still be here in 2025? I would have been surprised I was still alive.
Well, let me tell you, Cheryl, I mean, and we only have a couple of minutes, and I'm grateful for the time that you were able to spend. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss seeing you, not just on TV, but I'm just going to miss seeing you in the newsroom and seeing your smile and being on the receiving end of your greetings.
Well, thank you. I'm going
I
to miss
mean-
everybody too. I really, it's been very emotional for me lately because, I see people and I realize I'm not going to see them every day anymore. And they really are like a second family to me. And I love everybody. And I've just decided that at some point I got to go and figure out what else there is to do while I'm still able to do things
Right.
with my family and my husband and kids and friends. But it's bittersweet. I will tell you that, Todd, and I'm going to miss you too, but I'll continue to listen to you.
Oh, and please do.
I
I
will.
told you a long time ago, if you ever want to call the show and use an alias, by
I
all
was going to
means,
use Beatrice, but
I would love that. Just call in and
if
when
Beatrice calls and she
that's
sounds
right.
like me.
I'll be like, we know who that is. We know who that is.
No, I'll come back. I'll have more free time. So if you,
I would love to have you come
you
back.
check with me. Yeah. I'd be
Oh
happy
my
to.
gosh.
Yeah. Invite me back.
We could do a feature.
We'll do it.
Oh, see, now we're talking.
See?
All
But
right.
I'll miss you. I love your show. And I'm not just saying that because you invited me here.
I
I've told you
appreciate
before, I think you're funny. You can talk about any topic and you make it interesting, even if it's something very silly. And I appreciate that about you because we need silly in our lives.
Yes, yes, we
We
do.
we
And
do.
that's why I'm here.
Well, you're serious too.
Well, I try
But I
to
love
be
the silly
sometimes.
thing.
Well,
but you're great.
Well, thank
you.
you.
Do a great job.
I appreciate that, Cheryl. Well, thank you so much. We got to fly here.
Okay.
But
Thanks for having me.
and I am going to try to come up with a feature and have you back.
Okay.
100%. And I will
get
do a
hold of
better
me.
song. I promise. I will do a better
Okay.
song than that.
All right. Well, that was a good start.
It's
young man.
Thank you.
You
Thank
keep
you.
trying.
I
Okay.
will. Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you, Todd.
What am I listening to now? What is this?
The Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
It's a radio show. It's entertainment. Fill it up, folks. Double D. H. Double L.
S-T. I can remember that.
Locally grown, seriously funny.
I'm puzzled by the whole thing.
On WHIO.
No, just the stupid, my phone died. My TikTok phone died. I have my own phone. I got a second phone in here and it died. So sorry about that. See, it died. The phone died. Forgot to charge it before the show. What a maroon. How did I forget to do that? Oh, well. Thank you, Melody. Appreciate it. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Thank you, Ron.
Weather coming by the end of the week. We'll have the latest at 7 o'clock. Now back to the Evening Edge with Todd Hollst on 1290 and 95.7 WHIO.
You gotta tune in, man. You gotta tune in.
The Evening Edge with Todd Hollst.
Call Todd now, 937-457-1290, or message him at Evening Edge Todd.
Locally grown, seriously funny on WHIO.
Well, we're out of time. And thank you to Cheryl McHenry for being on the show tonight. It was a great pleasure talking to her. I'll be back tomorrow just after 5 here on the Evening Edge.
And that's how she wrote.
I got nothing left.
Why don't you just call it a night?
I'm saying it's over. Superstar.
That's it, guys. We're all fried.
You guys have a good night.
Unplug everything, wrap it up. Let's go home.
Adios, amigo.
All right, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you. Peace out, my friends. Peace out.